Shit gets out here.
All right. Hello, Bengals fans. The Joe Burrow era finally upon us. Counting down less than an hour. Well, about an hour and 2 minutes to go until kickoff of the Joe Burrow era. We are here with the virtual tailgate and pregame show brought to you by Narragansett Beer. And we are starting out with a very special guest. We've got Bengal Jim Foster, the legendary Bengals tailgater, and nothing's going to stop him. All right, there's no tailgating at Paul Brown Stadium. He found his own private parking lot. They're being they're socially distancing. They're doing everything they should be doing. And they got a great setup. Jim, how's it going down there?
Man, couldn't ask for a better day here in Cincinnati, Ohio. 80 degrees, sun's out, rained earlier this morning, but it's beautiful. We've got 40 cars in a parking lot that holds about 100 and 110, so we're a little bit less than 40% capacity. The fans here today are doing a great job. If they're in their little tailgate area, they don't have to wear their masks. But if they get up and go to the food truck or the porta potties or go visit somebody else, they're wearing their mask around. So Bengal fans are being great today, man, because this is kind of a test run. We know we can pull this off and be socially responsible and make it safe, but it's up to everybody here that participates. And so far, everybody's doing a great job. Just to show you, we got a Jumbotron back here. This is where we're watching the game.
That is awesome. Great setup. What's the food situation? You said that you got a food truck there?
I do, man. Usually we do a big giant food spread. We got a Mexican food truck, a lot of pulled pork and brisket and whatever people want there. It's good stuff. We wanted to do away with our giant food spread, everybody going through line together. So we wanted to do away with that and do the food truck, which was the right thing to do for us. So, but just to let you know something funny, this morning we're setting up. Troy Blackburn runs by. He's doing his morning jog, and so I kind of he wanted to say hi. We know Troy really well, but he was talking. I asked him about Geno Atkins. I was like, please tell me Geno's not a long-term issue for us. He laughed at me. He goes, Geno's probably 50-50 for the Browns game, but if he's not back for the Browns game, expect him back for the following Philadelphia, who that is. So cross our fingers on that. Hopefully he can go Thursday, but if not, it doesn't sound – again, Troy's not going to share all the crazy details on it, but it sounds like it's not something more serious than what they initially said. So,
well, based on how the Browns are playing the Ravens right now, I don't think they're going to need him for that game.
Right.
Oh,
hold on.
Yes. Hey, here we go.
Live right now. I'm sorry.
No,
you're getting the group picture.
What this show is all about.
Buddies right
interaction. The more the merrier.
Just one picture.
Hey,
oh my God.
Hey, Jim.
This dude's
yes,
too
sir.
big.
Hi, my son's saying hi in the back too, by the way.
That's all right.
I wanted to ask you had raised a lot of money for the Ken Anderson Alliance Foundation for some raffle prizes. What did you end up getting up to? I saw you raised a lot of money for that.
Actually, right now, Ken Anderson Alliance is here with us in the parking lot as well. So as of today, I haven't checked the numbers this morning, but we're real close to $3,000 in donations raised for the Ken Anderson Alliance, which supports adults with disabilities here in the Cincinnati area. We're really we got a big push going on in the parking lot and on social media right now to try to get to that $4,000 or $5,000 number. 5,000 is our goal, but and if you guys have seen the prizes, Ken Anderson signed an Augustana jersey for us, an old Pumpkinhead helmet he autographed for us, and an actual NFL football that he autographed. So somebody at halftime today will be the winner of that package. One person will win that entire package. But unbelievable support by the Bengal fans. I think we sold like 300 plus raffle tickets themselves. So it's just a really cool thing, and to help a local charity out here is just always fun to do.
Yeah, great. Those guys, sticking around all these years and still helping out, still doing great things in the community. It's awesome.
Yep, good stuff. So how excited are you guys for today, man? You not believe how crazy it is here in Cincinnati right now. I go to the grocery store today, got gas in the bus, went in and got a bunch of orange balloons. 2/3 of the store was wearing Bengal orange and black. On the way down here in the Bengal bus, everybody's hanging out their windows on the expressway yelling "Hooday." I have not seen it like this in a very long time, guys. It's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
So, I don't know, man. I can't.
What's the ratio of Burrow jerseys?
You know what? There's a lot of Burrow jerseys in the parking lot right here, man. There's a lot of Burrow jerseys for sure. For sure.
Well, I know. John
I lost him there, man.
We had him the whole time. As soon as he asked a question, we lose him.
Does he have freaking wireless? Like, what's his 4G situation going?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
he can't talk to us right now. He can't talk to us right now. We can take shots at him all and respond.
All right, he's laughing. He's got it. Can
he can hear us at least.
I can hear you guys.
Okay,
what did you say?
Go ahead.
I said John looks like he's having fun because he looks like he's got the seltzer already cracked.
Yep. You're damn right I am. I'm waiting for my Ganses to arrive.
That's true.
And if you guys didn't know, this pregame this pregame tailgate is presented by Narragansett Beer. And in case you guys didn't know, Narragansett.
And Bagel Jim is joining us via the Narragansett fan hotline. I'm going to take a ice cold Narragansett and put it in an even colder, frostier Bengals mug right now and get ready to go here. Ooh, listen to
that. Hey Jim, who do you have coming up on your show? Because you do the Sunday Night Football. Who do you have coming up on your next show?
You know what? We're going to change our format a little bit because we're not going to do Sunday night anymore. But today at noon, we had Jeff Hobson and Kenny Anderson on. We had Kenny Anderson toast everybody to open up the tailgate today, and we had Jeff Hobson come on and talk a little football with us. So Jeff was down in his office down at Paul Brown Stadium as he was on the call. So it was pretty fun. So we're probably going to move the show to like Tuesday night, just kind of a little bit different format instead of interfere with football shows Sunday night.
I didn't even know it was possible to get Jeff Hobson on anywhere. That's incredible.
That dude is just such a good man. He's just a good dude. Good guy.
All right. You guys have any other questions for Jim? I don't want to keep him away from.
Well, I want to know what he thinks about the game.
Yeah, I need a prediction.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, here you go. Here you go. This is not earth-shattering stuff here, guys. Joe Mix is going to have a game today. He needs to have a game today. I think Joe Burrow's going to have a good game, not a crazy great game, but he's going to be good. Joe Mix is going to be MVP of this game today, 24-14. I still think even without Geno, I think we're going to do some damage up front here on that defensive line against that depleted offensive line a little bit for the Los Angeles Chargers. So 24-14 Bengals win. I think the Bengals defense plays a lot better than people are thinking.
All right, that would be great.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely.
I think we're probably right about in that ballpark. Well, it looks like we've lost Anthony for a little bit. We'll get him back around.
Changing shirt. He's changing shirts. He's all right.
the gun show was too much. Oh,
yeah.
I hear you. I'm getting ready. I was en route to my tailgate destination, so that's why. And I my lovely wife was kind enough to drive me so I could do a little bit on the show. Here's my little guy, by the way, rocking his Sid Benson jersey.
Regan.
Nice. Hey, buddy.
He's got wild man hair.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, me too. But right, Jim. Well, appreciate you coming on. I know you got a lot of stuff going on there, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But and go Bengals! Looks like you got a great setup, and definitely make sure you're checking out Jim on YouTube as well. Tuesday nights this year, which is nice because I think it's a little block where you don't have anything coming to you on Cincy Jungle, so works out perfectly. We got Bengals content every day for you.
You guys are one of the best followers on YouTube, and love you guys. John, Matt, not Anthony. I'm talking about Anthony since he's not on there. You guys are way better than Anthony. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, oh, hi.
Oh, there he is.
No, man, we love watching you guys. Thanks for everything you guys do for the Bengal fans across the world, man. You guys.
Stay safe, Jim.
Appreciate it, Jim. You too, man.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.
All right. And then there were three. So Anthony, where you head? Where do you watch the Bengals in California?
So I've got a little ritual here, and I'm going to show this with his permission. I go to my brother's house, and this is we do this little tradition where we try and get a lot of stuff done the first part of the day because for me, Bengal games are usually at 10. So I gotta be pretty productive early in the morning. So any errands I got to do early, and then we get together, we toss the football around a little bit, go lift some weights. We come back, and then I'll show you around the garage a little bit. He's got the Bengals set up in here.
Nice.
I feel honored.
Hey, that's my brother, by the way.
I feel like you guys are part of my family.
Let's go.
Mr. Buffman without the shirt. You can tell we don't like to wear shirts around here, apparently, I guess.
Right, you're this is like your formal attire. You wearing the tank top.
Oh, show him Chris.
Oh, he wants to show. Okay, so my brother has some ink he wants to show you here too.
All right, what we got?
Slim.
Nice.
Yeah, it's Chris Henry.
I'm the guy that poisoned
That
this
is
guy.
awesome.
He's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy who brought on the Bengal sickness to me. So that's
Anthony.
that's
Anthony, do not be afraid to show your West Coast bias. Do you prefer 10 a.m. games or 1 p.m. games?
I actually like the 1 p.m. to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know it's a little difficult for. By the way, it's really loud in here. I apologize. All the cousins are getting together here. Cousins. So I know I'm on a live show. Real professional, Anthony. Anyway. Yeah.
You're a lot of tailgate. It's all good.
It allows me to get some stuff done. Allows me to get some stuff done and be a little productive. Do stuff for the site. Do stuff for the show. All of that.
Because people tell me all the time, and on Saturdays on the West Coast, they just wake up and they see what Purdue and Indiana score like 10 points in 30 minutes at 9 a.m. I just don't really get like the whole. I agree with you. Like I like just like relaxing in the morning and just not having that to deal with, and just if it goes bad, it goes bad in the afternoon. It's whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I like the later games personally. I like the later games, but maybe that's just me. Yeah. How many people we got joining us here? I can't see.
We are pushing 200. We're just under 200 live right now watching us. So looks like a bunch of likes and everything coming through.
Check out your Chris Henry tat, dude.
We got any?
We're gonna win.
We got Cincy Jungle's own Patrick Judas watching. He says he's 3 Bloody Marys deep. Who day?
He's at a B-dub, so those Bloody Marys. I mean, those are Bloody Marys.
So let's talk a little bit of specifics. Football wise, obviously Burrow's the big talk. We'll get to him in a second. We just heard Geno will be coming back in the next couple of weeks, hopefully for Thursday, but definitely sounds like after that. What do we think about the defensive line and what they're going to be facing today without Geno?
Well, I think Jim mentioned it, man. Like they have both Mike Pouncey and Trey Turner out, and Brian Bulaga, the right tackle, is questionable. So he's playing, but he may not be 100%. And let's not forget, man, like their left tackle, Sam Tevi, he's just there because they really have no one else. They traded Russell Okung to get Trey Turner, who's not even going to play. So their offensive line, it's got a lot of moving pieces. I think Forrest Lamb said left guard with Dane Feeney at center. It's an opportunity for them to showcase their depth along the defensive line, how they can do without their best pass rusher, Geno Atkins. How much is Mike Daniels going to play when he starts ahead of Geno Atkins? How much is Andrew Brown and Amani Bledsoe, who was just elevated up from the practice squad, how much are they going to participate? What are the defensive fronts we're going to see? We're going to get a lot of information about the rotations today.
Yeah, depth will be tested for sure. We talked about this on our listener questions and sorry, a little loud here, guys. With the listener questions and our other show on Wednesday, we talked about the depth issue. John touched on what they're going to be doing on the interior of the defensive line. You may see some of those edge guys kick in on obvious passing situations, kick inside. I think you said it, Matt, on Friday. You could see Sam Hubbard maybe doing a little bit of that. We know Dunlap can kind of move around a little bit, so I think they're going to play with that. Thankfully, I mean, even though they've been hit kind of with the injuries and major issues just on the interior of the defensive line, Tupou opting out of the season, Glasgow not being healthy. You got Geno now. The depth will be tested. I really liked the Daniels signing when they made it. I liked it just because of the rotation they were trying to build. I don't know how he will do. I think he will do well, but I don't know exactly just how effective he will be as kind of the starter with heavy snaps right away. But I think it's a big loss, and I still stick to what we all said in the listener questions a couple days ago, where I think having AJ back matters more than Geno being out. I just think that effect is stronger overall than losing Geno. And don't get me wrong, losing Geno is a big issue, but I think that's kind of my take.
Yeah, one thing we didn't really cover on Friday in the Q&A was DJ Reader. like not really known as a pass rusher, but he's down 30 pounds, and he participated in Von Miller's pass rush academy this year. So, I mean, maybe we see a little bit more than we're expecting from a pass rush perspective out of him. That would definitely be a nice little bonus to get in there. And I mean, you could see that the Texans were missing him in the running situations on Thursday. Now, before we move forward, just going to mention, so we tweeted out from the Orange and Black Insider Twitter account earlier today, and also, I don't even know what the verb is. Did we gram it? Did we Insta it? I don't know. But from the Instagram account,
I G'd it, I guess.
We IG'd from the Instagram account for Cincy Jungle, and that particular tweet or Insta or whatever, like it, retweet it, regram it. I don't think that's a thing, but anyway, if you like that or retweet it, that automatically enters you into today's giveaway. We will be giving away a hat and a T-shirt from our sponsor, Narragansett Beer, so make sure you're getting involved in that. Free giveaways. We'll just reach out to you, grab some contact information, and get it sent out. So now you mentioned the Mike Daniels signing was great and has become even more important now. To me, I kind of look at the Von Bell situation the same way. Now, if Bell was looked at as a luxury signing at the time, and we kind of elevated him above Sean Williams anyway. But if he wasn't there and Sean Williams is out, we'd be looking at Brandon Wilson and then a severe drop off. So, what do you think of the situation at defensive back between that situation and also Trey Waynes being out?
Well, I mean, shit, they got, 4 cornerbacks this game? They're not playing Torrey McTyer at cornerbacks, and without LaShawn Sims, they have their 3 starters, and then Tony Brown is their lone reserve. So I don't know what they're expecting in terms of rotating guys in and out of there, but they did elevate Trayvon Henderson from the practice squad. And I think for the most part, when Sean Williams is injured, he was playing for Sean Williams in training camp and not Brandon Wilson, either when Williams was supposed to be rotating onto the field or if he was just replacing Von Bell for a certain amount of snaps. So I think we're going to see a decent amount of Trayvon Henderson today, depending on how much they do want to implement that 3 safety rotation. And if they have someone go down at cornerback, they don't have LaShawn Sims, they don't have Torrey McTyer. Those guys aren't exactly great depth anyways, but like they just have no depth at cornerback now.
It's a very good thing that the Bengals decided to be active this free agency period based on the injuries that they've accrued. Because if they sat on their hands like they kind of tend to do in outside free agency, at least in recent years, and these injuries hit the same way, they'd be in a load of trouble. And so when you bring in a guy like Bell, there's some similarities in style of play and what they envisioned with him and Sean Williams, but there's obviously they had plans for both of those guys that are different, and they had different schemes for both guys. But the Von Bell signing, the DJ Reader signing, the Mike Daniels signing, all of those kind of point to some really good foresight by the team based on some of these unfortunate injuries that have hit them. And I know that, as John mentioned, the cornerback situation, that's a really I'm a little bit worried about that. I think, Darius Phillips is a bit of a wild card at this point. And it sounds like, based on some early things that I've seen, I haven't looked at the injury report quite yet, but I think Mike Williams is set to play for the Chargers, if I saw that correct. I know he was kind of 50-50 with a shoulder.
I didn't see the final. I thought it was still a game time. I hadn't seen that.
He might be, but it sounded like he was maybe trending towards a little bit more likely to play than not. So, that's.
Are you guys talking about Mike Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's playing.
Yeah.
Okay. I got the Bengals inactives pulled up, but not theirs.
Yeah. So that'll test the cornerback group. I still don't know if we know exactly what's going on with LaShawn Sims, and nor do we really need to if it's a personal issue, but. That depth will be tested, and those are 2 good receivers right there, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, that are gonna try and take advantage of that beleaguered group.
Well, before we move on to the next thing, we do have a request, Anthony.
No, I'm good. Thanks though, Lou. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit. I do want.
I'm
to bring my nephew in here real quick.
All right.
He and I both, by the way, have cutouts at Paul Brown Stadium, as does
Nice.
So
I think I saw it on Twitter a couple days ago.
3 of us at some point today, and often when the Bengals get in the end zone.
I like it. Yeah, I think Mackenzie Alexander being new, is going to add an interesting dynamic, and he missed about a week at camp. And I guess Brandon Wilson can kind of fit in at least in the slot type of role if he needs to be. Like, at least that's a guy that can run a little bit better than some of the other safeties. But yeah, definitely depth at that position is a concern. Although, Mike Williams will help. Obviously, they've got Keenan Allen, but beyond that, it's a little bit rough at the receiver position for the Chargers. They got like John. Is it John Guyton? I would keep wanting to call him Gary Guyton. I mean,
Jalen Guyton.
Jalen Guyton. Keep wanting to call him Gary Guyton, but so he's got some speed, and they got a couple of rookies in there. Of course, KJ Holt from Ohio State, could see some action in there. So hopefully, like the D-line situation, it's something that that matches up pretty well, and is at least favorable for them.
I don't think we've talked enough about how good Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr. are. Like this whole thing has been about, it's Burrow's debut and it's the beginning of an era and whatnot. Like Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr. are probably like 2 of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, and they're on the same team for now. Like the whole thing was that, Chris Harris has been, pestering Keenan Allen for over 5 years now when the Broncos and Chargers played against each other. Now they're on the same team. Now they're on the same side of the ball. Like it's going to be tough for Burrow to just find open spaces when they have receivers go against them. And, this is AJ Green's first game back in almost 2 years, and he has to go up against, I guess, both of them when they're in 12 personnel, only 2 wide receivers on the field, and Harris is on the outside, or maybe when Green's in the slot and he faces Harris one-on-one again. And I believe Harris has played the Bengals 3 times since Tyler Boyd has been with the team, but Tyler Boyd and Harris have never really squared off because of other circumstances that have been out of their control. So this is Boyd's really first test against one of the better slot cornerbacks in the game and the best slot cornerback of the last decade. So, I mean, beyond the fact that this is Burrow's first start and everything, this is just a tough secondary to go up against in general.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit the nail right on the head too, I think, with Harris. He's so good in the slot, and you see him, like, what impressed me most about him is the way he can cover tight ends like Travis Kelce, and then go out and cover a Keenan Allen. So, yeah, that's a ridiculous talent, and it's tough because we could see that matchup on Boyd, and then it's not like they're losing anything by leaving Hayward outside on AJ Green. So we're going to see, Burrow's going to have to get a little deeper in his progression than he might want to, and we might see a lot of action to the tight ends and running backs.
Yeah, the other thing with that, we talked about how we're a little worried potentially about the Bengals cornerback group going up against the Chargers wide receivers, but we briefly mentioned it on the Friday listener question show. Yes, Casey Hayward, to John's point, Casey Hayward and Chris Harris are great corners, but they also recognize the task that they have to deal with this Sunday in the very deep wide receiver core of the Bengals. You can go basically 5 guys deep that can hurt you at least in a pretty significant way in terms of the Bengals wide receiver group. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think we all are preparing for a big year and potentially a big game from Tyler Boyd. I think that could be the case. Chris Harris will probably be shadowing him quite a bit, I would think, kind of based on what he does. But, that could pave the way for, a little less attention to AJ Green. Maybe he breaks out and has a big game. Maybe the guys like Higgins and Tate with the size in the red zone, maybe that's, you do some jump balls, some fades, that sort of thing. And that's where they make some plays. But very talented cornerback group by the Chargers, but they've got their hands full today too by the Bengals wideouts.
Definitely. So the only position we haven't talked about on the Bengals defense is linebacker, and that's probably the biggest question mark. There's so many changes there. All these young guys, we've heard that they're flipping them in and out, rotating guys through. Marcus Bailey is not active today, but the other 2 rookies are. Jordan Evans is. And then the starters would be the presumed starters would be Jermaine Pratt and Josh Bynes. John, what are you expecting from this linebacker group today?
Well, we know that those two are going to get the majority of snaps. I think that they've seen enough of Pratt, at least in training camp, to trust him in more situations, whether it be in nickel or in obvious passing downs, because coverage was really the area that he took a long time to grow in last year, and he still had his warts towards the end of the year. But they have two guys in Logan Wilson and Keen Davis-Gaither who better be ready to play a decent amount, because this may be the biggest mismatch in this game, or at least on paper. Austin Eckler, who almost had 1,000 yards receiving at running back last year, he's going to be going up against either Bynes and Pratt out of the backfield, and one of those two guys has to match up with him. And you have to respect Eckler's ability and respect the fact that he's going to get his touches and he's going to get his big plays here and there. But how much is he going to hurt them is dependent upon how we see from Pratt and Bynes. And maybe towards the middle of the game, we may see an adjustment. We may see more of Logan Wilson, I guess, being the first rookie off the bench to try to take him on in those situations. But, I think in run defense, they'll be fine, because, again, this Chargers interior offensive line, it's really battered and it's just not good right now. So I think you'll have a lot of opportunities where Pratt and Bynes can showcase their abilities to run defense. But on those third downs, Eckler's going to be an option, or even with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the field, and it's up to those linebackers to match up with him and limit what he can do.
Cheers, by the way. I grabbed a Gansett just in a little tumbler here. So
all right,
cheers. And cheers to Narragansett for sponsoring the show. And Matt, thanks for taking the controls today, my friend. You are coming up clutch.
No problem. Once they figure out how to actually add things.
The linebacker group, that's another one that's really interesting to me, and I think I don't want to beat a dead horse there, because John laid it out really nicely there, but I think that, again, a group that has respective strengths and weaknesses, and I think the Bengals will kind of try and get them in different packages, get them in different situations, and try and mix things up. Really curious, I know Logan Wilson is kind of I think the linebacker that most of the fans are most excited about. I'm actually really excited and anticipating what we're going to see out of Akeem Davis-Gaither. He had the injury going into the draft process, and he had some other things going on that caused him to fall to the fourth round. Talented guy, there's maybe some size questions, etc., but very productive player. And a guy that I think, a lot of people think could be a sleeper. And I'm curious to see how the Bengals work him in and what kind of snaps he'll have, especially early on. That's something I'll be watching.
Yeah, definitely adds something in pass rush. So, to me, he adds something a little special in pass rush. And Logan Wilson, I think, could be a situational coverage guy in passing down. So, be interesting to see if they incorporate that. Last year with Pratt, early in the season, they would work him in for a series here or there with the base, nickel group. But I'm kind of wondering how they're going to do that with Wilson, because if you do that with Wilson, do you take Bynes off for Pratt? Because because you want Pratt to get the reps, and he's better in pass coverage, but Bynes is the guy we've been hearing about what a great leader he is and how intelligent he is. I kind of feel like you want Bynes next to Logan Wilson, for the confidence level of it when he's out there in the field initially. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how they use these guys, though.
Well, that's a great point. I think it was made a point during training camp that they were trying to pair two linebackers, one with a rookie, one with a vet. So whether it was Wilson and Bynes together or Davis-Gaither and Bynes together, we don't really know. But what we see in today will be indicative of probably what they did in training camp. I didn't think they wanted to pair Pratt with just a fresh rookie right off the bat as two starters. I think they wanted to ease in those three guys with someone who's been in the league for a long time. So I agree with Matt. If you want to put Wilson out there, you probably take Pratt off the field just because you trust Bynes' just overall intellect and experience in that position. But even still, I don't foresee Wilson eclipsing 20 snaps in this game unless there's an injury that happens. But when he plays will be really important, because it'll probably be an obvious passing down situations and situations where the Bengals defense needs to get off the field.
What's in there,
guys? Yeah, I'll show you the spread in a second. I don't know if you guys mentioned it. My brother actually just told me this too, just to confirm it. But Marcus Bailey is inactive, so we won't. Kind of get somewhat predictable, but a guy that I think we're all rooting for and pulling for based on all the injuries and stuff he's been through. He won't be suiting up, at least not right now. Which again, somewhat predictable, but maybe a guy that we thought could have snuck on. We've got a couple different things here, by the way, in the spread that have come out. A couple little chips and other little items, some fruit, and then we're gonna get some.
Our Narragansetts.
Yeah, Narragansetts. We got Gansets. Gansets are flowing here, and we're gonna. We've got some other concoctions that are cooking up right now, so we're gonna get that more as we get to kickoff, which is 30 minutes away.
Anthony, is there more pressure on your takes now that you're surrounded by actual people?
Yes.
Okay.
You always have an audience with Randall behind you, dude. So
I mean that's true, but he doesn't say much,
Yes. I have to be on my A1 game a little bit more than I usually am because of a lot of sets of eyes watching me directly instead of just through the computer screens. But yes,
So
pressure's on.
so this is a 1 o'clock game for you. So are you actually got like a full lunch spread going, or?
Yeah, we did. Gosh, what did we do, man? We got I think there's some
chicken casserole.
There's like a chicken tortilla casserole thing, a breakfast little brunch, little egg potato casserole thing. We've got some tri-tip, right? Tri-tip. Some tri-tip that'll be
Nice.
getting heated up here.
Burritos.
Yeah, we got a little bean and cheese burritos from this little Mexican place around here that we like. So we're rocking it. Chips, salsa, guac. We're getting it going.
Awesome. Well, anybody's got some favorite game time snacks, throw them out in the comments. We'll throw those up on there. But yeah, it's kind of weird on the East Coast. It's like a midday. It's like you already had lunch, and it's not like So it's a good chips and salsa. Fry up some jalapeno poppers kind of time.
Yeah, you got the ramp up going probably, right? By the way, the music playing is from the I believe it's the Baltimore Browns game, which by the way, I don't know if we ever had a chance to talk about that. The Browns are just getting housed.
Colts are losing.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. What's the score right now?
Last I saw it was 31-6.
I think they just scored again, 38-6.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
It's bad.
My lovely assistant of a wife just threw that out there. I'm usually in the office setup. Now I'm on the couch. I got the Patriots game going. My wife is very much invested in that, even though they got it in hand. So we're chilling on the couch today.
So Matt, if you're living in the East Coast and your wife sounds like she's a Patriots fan, how are you a Bengals guy? Were you originally from Cincy and you moved to the East Coast, or how did that work?
I was born in Northern Ohio, actually.
Okay.
My dad decided to become a Bengals fan just to have a rivalry with my older brother, who is a Browns season ticket holder. So actually, I'm the black sheep of the family, I guess. But yeah, and then my dad got so into it that I ended up being a Bengals fan. So, but we're the only two in the family, but just about everybody else is Browns fans.
John's been a lifer though, right? From
What's that?
I said John's been a lifer though, right? John, you've been a Bengals lifer because you're from the area, right?
Yeah, it was the uniforms, man. It was my two best friends growing up. They were big Bengals fans because their dad is like the biggest Bengals fan that I know, and they got me watching. I'm like, yeah, these uniforms are pretty cool. And that's when like they drafted Carson too. So I mean, it was perfect timing. Maybe not perfect, but
without us all having to divulge our ages if we don't feel like it. When you guys think about like your early Bengals memories, like growing up with the Bengals, what are you guys thinking about? Like, I'm thinking a little bit of Boomer, but I was like really young with Boomer. I don't really remember the Super Bowl. So I remember a lot of bad years in the 90s. Yeah, I remember some Jeff Blake and some rainbow passes, but
yeah, some of the early memories. I mean, I'm going to be 38, so that's depressing. But some of the early memories, I remember the early days of Sunday Ticket, and my brother and I would go scrounge around town to go find different like pizza joints or bars that would have this thing, because we didn't purchase Sunday ticket for a while. So we kind of started our little routine that we've been doing for years and years and years now. We kind of started it that way, and that's the Neil O'Donnell days, the Akili Smith days. Carl Pickens owning Dwayne Washington of the Steelers for one of their 3 wins in a season, So those were some of the early ones for me. I mean, obviously I think the first Bengal game I ever watched was the Super Bowl, unfortunately. Because I was like 5 or 6 then. And then we just kind of started watching Bengals since. I was into the Vikings for a little bit, truth be told, in like the late 80s, early 90s, because they had a receiver who was pretty good, Anthony Carter. So he had the same like and stuff. Yeah. So I was into them for a little bit just because of him, and they had Herschel Walker, who was a really good player. So I was into them for a little bit, but it's always been pretty much Bengals for me.
I actually grew up in Minnesota because my family moved around a lot. So I spent most of my childhood in Minnesota, and I went to Vikings training camp one year, and I stood in line for like an hour to get Herschel Walker's autograph.
Oh.
And then like literally like bumped into Chris Carter in the parking lot. And he wasn't even, like, nobody cared about Chris Carter because he was coming over from the Eagles, and AC was the big guy there. Like, so it ended up being a positive. How about you, John?
I definitely have been to a game before this, but the first game I still remember watching was a road game against the Jets, and it was in 2004. And I remember Curtis Martin had a really good game that day. Like I was like 8, but I definitely had gone to a game before, but my memory just doesn't go back that far, I guess. But I mean, me and my dad went to basically every home game from 2004 to 2011, I think, because they were my grandpa's tickets, and he was live until 2012 when he passed away, and he didn't have the tickets anymore. But I grew up in that Palmer era. I'd gone to basically every home game. We tailgated for pretty much every game because, again, my 2 best friends, their dad had season tickets as well, and always had a decent parking spot for tailgating. So that was really my childhood in the fall, just going to basically every Bengals game possible in home. And I mean, we went to both home playoff games and obviously had the same experience with that. But yeah, it was like my early memories were just the beginning of that new era. I'm sure I watched games with Corey Dillon, Peter Warwick, and with the old uniforms too, and before Palmer. But luckily, I just don't remember any of it.
So major shift from you. Like, all you remember is Marvin Lewis,
right? Like legit, he was hired when I was in first grade, and he didn't get fired until I graduated from college. Like that's 90% of my life.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
So
that's where we are.
You know, as we kind of stumbled onto the conversation of coaches, we've had 1 year with this staff. Obviously, some ups, but a lot of downs. What are you guys' thoughts on the coaching staff? You know, what do you think they have to prove? You think anybody's on the hot seat in the bubble?
I said this before. I initially was kind of saying, hey, you know, this is finally going to be a normal year for Zach Taylor. I said this earlier in the year. It's going to be a normal year for Zach Taylor. He didn't have that last year. He joined the club late and all this stuff. Then the poor guy has to, as we all have to deal with the pandemic going on, and he's trying to run a football team and practice and do what he has to do while, you know, maintaining safety for himself, his own family, the players, their families, etc. And then last year he loses AJ Green for the entire season. This year he starts off with Geno Atkins missing at least the first week. So his two best players in respective years he hasn't had to start the season. And then, you know, to work, try and do his job, he joined the fray late last year, and then he's had all kinds of stuff to deal with this year. But I still think, you know, if anyone's saying, oh, you know, fire Zach Taylor after this year if they don't do well or anything, I think this is at least going to be a 3-year experiment and give a couple of years with Zach Taylor with Joe Burrow, quote unquote, his quarterback, and running his system before any significant moves are made. Even I'm talking even probably coordinator wise, unless the defense falls completely on its face after all of these acquisitions they made this offseason. I don't really see many firings after this year. I think they're going to try and give this group at least a small handful of years to work together and continue to build what they're doing. And by the way, I know the wins weren't there, but the players seem to like this coaching staff and Zach Taylor and what he's trying to do. And I'd like to think that it was Zach Taylor maybe that bent the ear of ownership, saying we got to be more active in free agency this year. We got to get players in their prime, big ticket players, and they did that.
I'll say this: I don't know who wrote the article, but I think someone on CBS Sports or maybe NFL Network listed Brian Callahan as a low key head coaching candidate for 2021. So that speaks volumes for whoever's expectations are for the Bengals offense this year. But I think they're in a good spot where, like Anthony said, it's not going to be if they're bad again this year, everybody's going to get fired. I think they're going to get at least 2 years with Joe Burrow to keep everybody together. But I think they will have the luxury to keep everybody together, because unless they just blow everyone's socks off this year, I don't see Callahan getting hired as the head coach. I definitely don't see Anarumo leaving his spot to become a head coach anywhere. I think they're safe with those two guys to keep this position, their respective positions for 2021 and maybe even 2022. So they're going to get the opportunity to give Zach Taylor at least 3 years with his staff and 2 years with the quarterback that they chose at number one overall. So I mean, I expect growth out of Anarumo and Callahan respectively, because they're going to get more continuity. They're going to get more talent for the respective personnel groupings. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still really early in the process, and I don't expect everything to just change after 1 year, but they're going to get the opportunity, I think, to continue to grow in 2021.
We definitely need to see a big step with the defense, and I think Anarumo's got the most pressure on him because they spent so much money on that side of the ball. Stinks about Wayne's because there was so many miscommunications and issues in the secondary last year that you're hoping that was going to be a big part of solving that. And it's funny you mentioned Callahan, because that's kind of scary. I mean, I know they love pitcher, but if you lose Callahan, obviously Taylor's calling the plays, but like, I don't think there's an internal hire. Like, I don't think you're there with pitcher yet, and I hope you're not going the Turner route. So, that'll be interesting. I mean, maybe Big Now or somebody, I don't know, but you mentioned it. I'll mention again. We do have a giveaway today, so check out Orange and Black Insider on Twitter and Cincy Jungle on Instagram. We sent out a post earlier where we mentioned our sponsor, Narragansett. Retweet, like, whatever you got to do, whatever you can do for that post. And with that, and you actually need to make sure you follow our sponsor, Narragansett, as well. You're automatically entered for the contest. We're giving away a Narragansett hat and T-shirt. So definitely check that out. They got some really cool stuff too. If you haven't been to their website, there's some really cool stuff on there. It's good looking stuff. So stuff that most of it has sleeves, but I think Anthony would still like it.
We gotta give credence to this guy in the comments section. LeVar Hollis is facing a hurricane right now, but I think that's like the second most interesting fact. He's in Bermuda. We got someone from Bermuda joining our stream, and I think he's not the first time that he's been in the stream. But Jesus Christ, man, hope you're okay.
That is incredible. Yeah, take care of yourself, definitely, and we got to do a remote show out there sometimes. When
the weather's nice,
right? So
by the way, I got to give a shout out.
Yeah,
there is someone he's talking a little noise through our Facebook page. His name is Lucas Leonard. He's a good friend of mine. He is a Charger fan.
Lost him. But Lucas Leonard saying 5 touchdowns today. Oh, no, Allen.
I thought he was talking about Josh Allen. No, he's talking about Keenan.
I just saw 5 touchdowns. I added it. Oh, that's gone.
Lucas Leonard.
Come on, Lucas.
You can't trust 2 first names, dude.
So anyway, I actually
like Keenan Allen.
Sorry, guys.
Exactly.
So Lucas is actually a high school friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy. Unfortunately, I already kind of had some plans today to come over to my brother's, and he wanted to watch the game. So we're watching in a different way together. So Lucas, we're watching. I'm sure we'll talk some noise via text to each other throughout the day. But I see him riling up the Bengals fans, and I know he would want me to point him out. So good friend of mine. He's poking the beehive a little bit, but that's all right.
Well, the Patriots are up 10 points on the Dolphins, and my wife looks aggravated. So I think she's having a bad day in fantasy football. Let's talk a little bit about fantasy football for the Bengals game here. Who do you think are the potential fantasy stars in this week's matchup?
I think Joe Mixon for the Bengals. I think he's going to get a lot of carries, and potentially some passing targets. I think this may be a little bit of a frustrating day for some of us who may own an AJ Green, a Tyler Boyd. I mean, I think they'll probably get maybe the yards, maybe especially Boyd the catches. But I wouldn't be surprised if and when Joe Burrow throws one or more touchdowns. They go to like a CJ Uzama, a Drew Sample, maybe bring in T. Higgins on a goal line situation, an Auden Tate in a red zone situation. And those are the guys, maybe not high ownership percentages, that end up getting kind of the points, the big plays. Maybe a John Ross, going deep. Maybe a John Ross is a guy that can break out a little bit. But I am playing AJ Green. I have him in I think both of my teams, but I got him late, so he's kind of just sitting there, and I'm like, I got to get this guy. So I don't know what to expect from him in this first game. It's either going to be, quite a show from him, or something where he's only, he's on a pitch count a little bit. So I think Joe Mixon's probably the safest bet as far as the Bengals go. Fantasy
analysis is a crapshoot. Fantasy analysis in week 1 is even a bigger crapshoot. For example, Gardner Minshew is 19 for 20 for 173 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Colts. So yeah, but
defense,
yeah, exactly. So like week 1, like I if I would give out fantasy advice, I mean, you probably don't want me because I'm the worst fantasy player of all time. But I saw someone like, yes, you might as well just sit AJ Green this week because it's his first game back, and we don't really know. We all we know about like week 1 analysis is like how they were in the past and whatnot. Just for the record, in 8 week 1 games in AJ Green's career, he has 813 receiving yards. He crossed the 130 receiving yard mark 3 times, and he averages like over 100 yards a game for week 1. So I think they're going to get him involved early, whether or not he stays in the game and stays involved for the entire game, because again, the cornerback matchup is tough, but he's known to just light it up in week 1 and have some really clutch moments. So I wouldn't count him on it as like a definite sit for this week.
Man, that'd be awesome. That'd be great to see him going. We got Josh Cook here on Facebook. He's pumped, and he's got that Geo profile pic. I was actually, so I shaved earlier I trimmed earlier this week, but I had a pretty good thing going, and I was going to just leave the mustache for this show, but how like a lot of people have superstitions. I have a superstition about superstitions. So I was like, if I do it and they win, I'm gonna have to leave it, and I wasn't that committed to it. So we ended up not going that route. But great to see it from Geo. That thing is clutch. That thing it's clutch like Geo. It's perfect. So I mean, naturally that brings us to offense. So well, actually, first we'll mention this, that I'm not a great person to take fantasy advice from either. I'm a good person to take beer advice from. So grab a cold Narragansett. That's a perfect thing to be watching the game with. Obviously be responsible and be 21 years old. But other than that, grab yourself a Gansett and check out the game. So offensively, in terms of like on the field, who's going to help them win the game? I think we all agree Joe Mixon definitely running the ball is going to be huge. Do we think this is the year? Do we think we see him used quite a bit in the passing game as well?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, who the hell knows? Like, I think they want to run him for as much as they can. Like, I don't know if he's going to eclipse 300 carries, but I know that's the plan because they want to take, quote unquote, the load off of Joe Burrow. But at the end of the day, like, they need to score points, and if that means just putting the ball in Burrow's hand for more times than they were originally comfortable with, that's going to be the plan. I think for this game, they're going to give Joe Mixon the ball a lot early on, and it's just a matter of if the Chargers offense is going to be beating the Bengals defense consistently, and they just need to score points.
I want to talk about what you guys think about Tyrod Taylor in a minute, if you guys are okay with that. But before I do, just I also remember, I also want to talk about the not only the Joe Mixon deal, but in respect to a couple of other running back deals that came across this weekend. So you had Dalvin Cook sign a 5-year, $63 million deal. You had Alvin Kamara sign a big deal as well. Joe Mixon's deal is big, and I know a lot of us have our reservations in terms of the positional value giving out that kind of money, but now all of a sudden the Bengals look kind of, and you can argue where Joe Mixon fits in based on talent-wise and production-wise, et cetera, against Alvin Kamara and, Dalvin Cook. But, the Bengals, according to those numbers, the Bengals seem to have put together a much more manageable deal than those teams had in terms of running back position and who they have.
Yeah, it's probably going to be crazier when we get to free agency too.
Big offseason for running backs this year. Big offseason. A lot of big contracts.
Even with everything that's gone on. So, and they stayed out of the range of those of Kamara and McCaffrey, who obviously bring something particularly special in the passing game that we don't see out of most of those guys. So that's definitely a positive there. I had Lindsay up on the screen a minute ago. I too have Burrow, Boyd, and Mixon on my team, but I got Burrow on the bench right now though. I got Burrow pretty late, so I was fortunate to. I'm in a league where I'm the only Bengals fan, so it wasn't hard to get Bengals. All right, so how about in the passing game? Let's talk. Is it a Boyd day? Is it Green's comeback show? What do we think is going to happen there?
If I had to put money on it, it's Green. But again, we don't know how much he's going to play, if they're going to rotate him in and out. It's hard to not have confidence in Boyd with that connection with Burrow early on. But I think I might be more confident that it's going to be just equally distributed over just one guy just dominating, because there's not like one matchup in the secondary that they can easily exploit. So it's just going to come down to everybody just creating consistent separation. And this is Burrow's first start, but we have no reason to believe why he would just lock onto one receiver, kind of like what Andy Dalton did for the majority of his career, like he did with Green for the most part. So I think we're just going to see a lot of differences with Dalton and Burrow, even in Burrow's first game. And I don't think one receiver necessarily is going to just wreck this Chargers defense. I think it's going to come down to the 4 or 5 guys that they have rotating into this game to just consistently get open, and Burrow's going to find the guy who's open.
Anthony.
I think it's going to be a day. I'm not really expecting a day where AJ Green has 8 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, or Boyd I think Boyd will have a high volume of catches. I don't know about the yardage and touchdowns, et cetera. I think it's going to be a day where there's a lot of dispersal of the football. I think there's going to be a lot of different guys catching the football. I think there's going to be a lot of different players getting involved. There was a tweet by Ian Rappaport earlier in the day that I think, especially without a preseason and everything going on, I think you're going to see a lot of the Joe Burrow run stuff that he ran at LSU. I think we knew that already, but there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of guys getting involved, a lot of splitting out guys wide and doing a bunch of different things, mixing up looks on offense. So I don't know that, like I said, I don't know that there's going to be one crazy star, one guy that's going to have this crazy day for the fantasy owners out there. I think it's more going to be, maybe some solid days across the board, maybe, 4 catches here for a guy like John Ross, maybe, a handful of catches for a decent amount of yards for Boyd. Maybe one of those other guys getting a touchdown catch in the red zone as they mix into the red zone target. So I don't know if I see a truly explosive day by anybody. Maybe Joe Mixon. That's kind of the one I'm hanging my hat on there. But I don't know about receiving targets. Like I said, though, I am curious what you guys think about and how threatened you are by Tyrod Taylor.
I realized I skipped over that. I was planning on coming back.
No, that's okay. The reason I thought of that is I watched.
I'm not used to sitting in your chair, man.
The reason I bring that up, I watched a part of the New Stripe City, Orange is the New Black podcast with Ace and Zim had some really interesting comments about Tyrod Taylor. Basically he's a guy, instead on third down, watch him. On third down, he'll throw it away before he makes the play. It was kind of a cool little statement he made. I wonder if that's going to ring true. Is he going to be captain check down today? Is he going to be playing it safe, real manageable type of passes, or will he take a shot or two? I don't know. I tend to think it's the former rather than the latter, just because of who Tyrod Taylor has been and the fact that he hasn't started a game since late in 2018, or I guess early in 2018. So I don't know how threatened I am of him, but he does have those good receivers and a couple of running backs that can catch the ball well.
I mean, we don't know about Mike Williams. You know, Keenan Allen's a very good receiver. They've got those other guys, but I think he's in the Dalton mold that he needs a lot to go right around him to be a winner and to be real productive. And you're right, we haven't seen him. Somebody pointed out to me earlier in the week that thought last time we saw him, he was taking the Bills to the playoffs, but actually, the last time we saw him, Andy Dalton took the Bills to the playoffs with some help from Tyler Boyd. So I don't know. We haven't seen the guy in a while, so it'll be interesting. What do you think, John?
Tyrod Taylor can do good against defenses that are bad, and for all we know right now, the Bengals defense is still bad. They're bad until they aren't. Like, they made a lot of improvements on paper, but until we actually see that, this is a defense that Tyrod Taylor can take advantage of, because at the end of the day, he is a situationally good quarterback, but this is a situation when he can be a good quarterback, and that's why the Chargers were 3-point favorites on the road, against the team with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Like, there's a reason behind that. Like, he has lasted in this league for as long as he has, and he has as many starts as he has because he's a decent quarterback. Is he good enough to take over a franchise? No, I think we've seen that enough to distinguish that. But at the end of the day, this is a game where Tyrod Taylor can have success. It's going to come down to the Bengals defense being as good as they said they are on paper in order to stop Tyrod Taylor.
Tweet 2 minutes ago from the Baltimore Ravens: RG3 has entered the game. There's 2 minutes left, and they are up 38-6. So the Bengals will be playing the 0-1 Browns on Thursday, and will it be the 1-0 Bengals? Will it be the 0-1 Bengals? We'll have to see at that point. But that's where that's standing.
The Jags beat the Colts. The Washington football team is beating the Eagles with about 3 minutes to go. So this is week 1.
We have some upset people in this house because we've got a couple of people either that have lost or are losing their survivor pool bets. So
it's the Colts, right?
Yeah, my nephew picked the Colts. I actually picked the Eagles, and I didn't really like that one, but I picked the Eagles in mine, and it looks like that's not going to work. So I don't know.
There's our guy LeVar. I found him finally.
All right, man. It's 4:00. It's game time, is it not?
All right, yeah, it's about time to grab a Gansett. So make sure, last chance, get those retweets in. Make sure you're following Narragansett on Twitter and or Instagram, wherever you're on, and we will pick those out later. And one of us will be reaching out to you and DMing you, looking for sizes and stuff, and an address and all that stuff from the winner. So make sure you're checking that out. Final thoughts, game predictions. What do we got?
Sloppy. I think it's sloppy. And I think Bengals come out victorious barely, but I think Bengals pull it off. Maybe a 23-20, 23-21, that sort of thing. And they are getting set to take the field. Joe Burrow is taking the field as we speak right now.
Chargers win by 3, Bengals cover the spread, and David Williams, yes.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to go 17-24 Bengals with the win. I think I've had this kind of target for a while. I think Bengals can pull this one off. Particularly running the ball enough to at least make Joey Bosa think before he just screams off the line to try and help them out a little bit in the pass rush. So I think we got a Bengals win, and I think that's what we're talking about on Thursday in Thursday's pregame show. So make sure you're coming back for that. You got just enough time. I got 4:01. We got 4 minutes till kickoff. Go grab a Gansett and pull up a chair and go Bengals, baby.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy game day.
Make me crow this week. Let's go.
And join me for post game.
Yes, come back and see Anthony after the game on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you're at right now. All right, go Bengals.